إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وحده في ذاته ووحده في صفاته وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا فصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة في الدين بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. عباد الله أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله. عباد الله اتقوا الله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. وبعد فقد قال تبارك وتعالى كما ورد في سورة الأنبياء بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: أولم يرى الذين كفروا أن السماوات والأرض كانتا رتقا ففتقناهما وجعلنا من الماء كل شيء حي أفلا يؤمنون. صدق الله مولانا العظيم ومن أصدق من الله قيلا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Brothers and sisters, the ayah I opened up with in Surah Al-Anbiya, do those who disbelieve not see that the heavens and the earth used to be joined together and then we ripped them apart? This is, if you will, the Big Bang theory. But that's not my subject. My subject is the next statement. And we have made from water every living thing. Will they not then believe? Water is a social justice issue. The two most indispensable things for survival are air and water. These two elements are essential to our health of all humans as well as all living things. Water is the essence of life. We, God, made out of water every living thing. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. And so oxygen, of course, is one of the two elements that are important for our survival. As you know, the trees absorb, among other things, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide that we breathe out, among other gases. And trees will release to us oxygen so we can breathe. Imagine one large tree can supply a day's oxygen for 4 people. Is it any wonder? The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if the hour, the day of resurrection, is about to be established, and one of you was holding a palm shoot, let him take advantage of even 1 second before the hour is established to plant it. Caring for the environment is caring for ourselves. Perhaps one day the capitalists and greedy people will figure out a way to tax us on the air we breathe. Who knows? Oxygen and water are the two most essential elements of life. 2/3 of our body consists of water. Our brain is 95% water. Our lungs are 90% water. Without water, we would simply die. Now think of this. Had it not been for water that saved Hagar and Ismail's lives, an entire race of nearly 2 billion people today would not have existed. The same well that saved the lives of Hagar and Ismail provides drink to millions of people from all walks of life and unite them under one humanity. Water is the source of life, and water is what binds us all. Not only Ismail, the son of Prophet Ibrahim, is linked to water. Other prophets are linked to water. Musa was instructed to strike the rock with his staff. وَإِذِ اسْتَسْقَى مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ وَقُلْنَا اضْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْحَجَرَ فانفجرت منه 12 عينا قد علم كل أناس مشربهم. And mention, O Prophet, when Moses prayed for water for his people, and we replied, strike the rock with your staff, whereupon 12 springs gushed out from it, and each tribe of the 12 tribes of Jacob knew its drinking place. كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا مِنْ رِزْقِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تَعْثَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ مُفْسِدِينَ. Eat and drink from God's provision, and do not cause corruption in the land. Water is indispensable. It is one of the fundamental human rights. As a matter of fact, water, food, clothing, and shelter are among the most basic human rights. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, عن عثمان بن عفان رضي الله عنه, ليس لابن آدم حق في سوى هذه الخصال، بيت يستره وثوب يواري عورته غليظ وجلف من الخبز والماء. Uthman ibn Affan said, the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, there are no rights that the son of Adam is more entitled to than these 4 rights. Number 1, a house to dwell in. Number 2, a garment to cover his nakedness. Number 3, a piece of bread. And finally, water. All living things, including humans, who are at the top of God's creation, should have the right and access to clean water wherever they may be. Unfortunately, many people in the world, living in certain areas like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Africa, among other places in the world, don't have access to water. Sadly enough, even in the most civilized countries in the world, such as the United States of America, one finds lack of clean water available to its residents. Case in point, Flint, Michigan. While the lack of water threatens the very life of people, hence water is a basic and fundamental human right. In the summer of 2014, the Detroit Water Department, based on experts' advice, supposedly to raise money for Detroit's bankrupt city, decided to shut off water to residents who failed to pay the water bills. The decision to shutting off water to Detroit low-income families because they could not pay the bills is not only disgraceful, but a violation of human rights according to the United Nations. Because of the water crisis in the world, as recent as 2010, through Resolution 64/292, the United Nations General Assembly explicitly recognized the human right to water and sanitation and acknowledged that clean drinking water and sanitation are essential to the realization of all human rights. The resolution calls upon states and international organizations to provide financial resources, help capacity building, and technology transfer to help countries, in particular developing countries, to provide safe, clean, accessible, and affordable drinking water and sanitation for all. Unfortunately, our government, which runs like a corporation, concerned about numbers only, dollars and cents, has neglected the plight of Flint's residents as well as the human rights and needs of the people. The government failed to help create opportunities for its residents and left the infrastructure crumble. The failure has led to the Flint water crisis. The city has faced a major public health emergency due to lead poisoning in the water supply that affected thousands of residents. And Detroit is shutting off water to its residents who are unable to pay their water bill. Both the Flint water crisis and Detroit have one thing in common: corporate greed. In the case of the Detroit water crisis, the decision for the shut-off water, along with the mass tax foreclosures, were a calculated move to drive out residents of low-income or no-income people, paving the way for more development and the influx of white professionals. It is, as some calls it, urban colonization. Water shutoffs to residents who are unable to pay their water bills, while big corporations with huge water bills like Joe Louis Arena are exempted, is another form of oppression by the power that be. Unpaid bills was not the real issue in Detroit. As some suggested, that was only an excuse to allow Governor Snyder and his corporate allies in the business community to make profits. Detroit neighborhoods are more profitable with the residents gone. It is not a secret that in the name of cutting government spending, Flint residents had to face a crisis like never before. Running government like a business is okay, provided that those who are at the helm of affairs understand what it means to be human and to care for the well-being of all people. We have seen disasters due to corporate greed in recent times. Corporations, unfortunately, care only about filling their pockets and care less about people, their well-being, and welfare. Life is the most sacred thing we have in this world. If we don't recognize that and act as real humans, not as economic beasts, caring for human needs and rights, people will continue to face tragedies similar to the Detroit and Flint water crisis. The Detroit water shutoffs made world news. The United Nations slammed Detroit for violating the basic human rights of its residents by shutting off their water over unpaid bills. The vulnerable Detroit residents who are struggling to have access to drinking water, water to bathe, and flush toilets are ignored, while our government allows Nestle to increase the amount of water it withdraws for profits. According to the Detroit Free Press, in an article dated April of 2018, the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, approved a controversial permit Monday for Nestle Waters North America to increase the amount of water it withdraws from the state's groundwater table from 250 gallons a minute to 400 gallons. Despite vehement opposition to the permit from residents of Osceola County, where the Nestle well is located, and water activists across the state, the DEQ said the permit met the requirements of the Michigan Safe Drinking Water act. My goodness, where is the feeling of being human, considerate, concerned, merciful, compassionate, and empathetic? A prostitute has more empathy than many of the most wealthy and greedy people. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in a hadith, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه, قال غفر لامرأة مومسة مرت بكلب على رأس ركي يلهث قال كاد يقتله العطش فنزعت خفها فأوثقته بخمارها فنزعت له من الماء فغفر لها بذلك. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, forgiveness is granted to a prostitute who passed by a dog panting near a well. Thirst had nearly killed him, so she took off her sock, tied it to her veil, and drew up some water. Allah forgave her for that. A simple act of compassion caused all her sins to be forgiven. What has become of people? They have become desensitized, insensible, numb, walking humans with dead hearts. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, عن النعمان بن بشير, مثل المؤمنين في توادهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد إذا اشتكى منه عضو تداعى له سائر الجسد بالسهر والحمى. The Messenger of Allah said, the parable of the believers in their affection, mercy, and compassion for each other is that of a body. When any limb aches, the whole body reacts with sleeplessness and fever. We, here, where we live, are one community. Muslims, non-Muslims, we make one community. When a member of the community, Muslim or non-Muslim, matters not, is afflicted with hardship and suffering, we must feel their pain. We, the Muslim community, should be at the forefront with other people of conscience, fighting for the weak and vulnerable, fighting for the basic human rights, the right to water. We must put pressure on state and city government to honor the residents of Flint to their right to clean water and Detroit their right to have access to water. Stop the water shut off. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to lead and be part of this movement. Inshallah ta'ala. Allahumma ameen.
آمين.
أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات فاستغفروه. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الحسن وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, first of all, we as Muslims must honor the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we call ourselves Muslims, if we believe in the Quran and in the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the two sources of guidance for us are the Quran and the Sunnah. And the Prophet ﷺ spoke many gems of wisdom, and it is incumbent upon us to follow his guidance. The Prophet, among other things, preached conservation of water. I'm going to share with you three things that you need to take with you today, that you need to apply, inshallah ta'ala. Number one, conservation of water. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, conserve even if it is available in abundance. We have abundant water in our homes. Just watch yourself how you make wudu. Open the tap, full blast. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to make wudu in half a cup. When we brush our teeth, we're brushing the teeth and the water is running uselessly for nothing. So make sure that you conserve, because the Prophet ﷺ insisted, do not waste water even if you were at a running stream. You know the hadith when this is reported by Abdullah ibn Amr radiallahu anhuma. He said the Messenger of Allah passed by Sa'd while he was performing wudu. And he said, what is this extravagance? Sa'd said, is there extravagance in water, with water in ablution? The Prophet said, yes, even if you were on the banks of a flowing river. Take what you need. That's all. Number 2, drink water, a lot of water. Our bodies, 2/3 of it is made out of water. Supply your body with water, not Coke and Pepsi and all these things that are harmful to you. Water on an empty stomach is healthy. It cools the liver, while water drank on a full stomach arouses desires. And the Prophet ﷺ informed us, the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to his abd on the day of resurrection, Yawm al-Qiyamah, did I not give you a healthy body and cold water? Not Pepsi and Coke. Cold water. The best water of any kind of healing is Zamzam. If you have access to it, drink it. And the Prophet said, Al-Zamzamu lima shuriba lah. Zamzam is for whatever it is drunk for healing spiritually, even physically. So keep that in mind. Maybe you will have access to clean, good Zamzam water. Giving water to a thirsty person or animal, for that matter, is a great charity. And Sa'd bin Ubadah, he reported, he said, O Messenger of Allah, my mother has died. Shall I give charity on her behalf? And the Prophet said, yes. I said, which charity is best? The Prophet said, a drink of water. Simple. A drink of water. And then we have another hadith where the Prophet said, whoever, any mu'min who gives a drink of water to another mu'min while he was thirsty, Allah will give him drink on the day of judgment from the sealed nectar. Min al-rahiq al-makhtum. Subhanallah. Number 3, donate to dig and build water wells. Obviously in areas where water is non-existent, such as Africa, Afghanistan, Pakistan, among other places. You will receive the rewards of every person who will drink from that well. And this is the hadith of the Prophet, Man hafara ma'an lam yashrab minhu kabidun harra min jinnin wala insin wala ta'irin illa ajarahu Allahu yawm al-qiyamah. Whoever digs a well, no thirsty soul will drink from it, whether it be a human, jinn, or bird, except that Allah will reward him on the day of judgment. So these are the 3 things that, inshallah ta'ala, particularly if you have a deceased that you want to have perpetual charity, sadaqah jariyah on them, or for yourself, for that matter. You want to increase your rewards. Consider doing that. There are many organizations. All you have to do is just pay whatever, $500. We spend $500 on coffee a month, for God's sake. Now, last but not least, the Poor People's Campaign movement is organizing a press conference on October 6th. I will be part of that prayer ceremony as well as the press conference. And that will be on October 6th on the riverfront of Hart Plaza. Faith leaders and community will be standing against water shutoffs. The prayers and water ceremony is at 9:30 and the press conference is at 10:30. And the demands from the city are basically three. Number one, end the water shutoffs. Number two, restore water to those who have been deprived of it. And number three, implement income-based water bills. Be part of this movement. Join the struggle for social justice. It is not only a moral duty, it is a religious obligation. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. This is our religious duty, and we have to fulfill our duties to the best of our abilities. So I pray that you are able to make time. It's on Saturday, I believe, October 6th. We will repeat announcing for that, inshallah ta'ala. And I will see you. We need to have presence from the Muslim community. We need the whole world to know and see that Muslims care more than anybody else about this basic human right, water. Inshallah ta'ala. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك اللهم اجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين ومن عبادك المخلصين ومن عبادك الذين يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر اللهم آمين وصلى الله على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
كانت هذه خطبة الجمعة من مسجد آيونا وارن ميشيغان لفضيلة الإمام مصطفى الترك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.